Welcome to Off The Monstah. My name is Derek. I'm here with Jeremy, Mr. Taylor, and Mr. Brown. We are all here. We've witnessed a series win and a series sweep it was actually against the Texas Rangers. Red Sox, a 4-game series sweep. They've won 5 in a row, and they are undefeated in the month of September. We love seeing that, and I'll hand it off to Jeremy straight away. How are you feeling after a series sweep? You haven't had one of those in a while.
It's been a long while since we've had a sweep, and 5 games in a row. That's also really nice, and we're starting to get healthy. This is the point of the season where I say, and again, yes, I'm the negative one on this, but it's going to be nice. We'll be competitive. I'm not going to sit here and say, okay, the playoffs are for sure. We're getting healthy and we're going to make this run. I don't think we're there, but there's one element that I could see in September that's been missing all season. And that is when we get healthy, it's going to be more fun. And I think that's what we're seeing. Cass is being called up, obviously, with the fanfare is going to add to that. But if they're winning like they do, it's just going to be more fun. And honestly, that's what I'm looking forward to the end of the season. If they make the playoffs, great, good for them. But if not, let's at least, have fun.
Well, I mean, it's still a long shot because they've won 5 in a row. I think they've only gained like half a game, maybe a game. It's the playoffs are still a long shot. It's all the teams ahead of them are just playing very well, or at least the 3 teams that are already in the playoff slot plus Baltimore. They're all playing very well. It's going to be hard to catch them, but you're not mathematically eliminated still. So why not swing for the fences? Go for it. If you come up short, it's like, okay, well, we came up short. At least we tried instead of just rolling over like the Yankees almost are doing. And they're in the division lead, so that's inexplicable. I'll go to Mr. Taylor, though. Thoughts on the series? So it was a 4-game sweep, obviously.
It's an Aaron Boone. What they do.
I'll say this, man. I feel like Al Pacino's character in the movie The Godfather. Just when I thought I could get out, they keep dragging me back in. This team keeps flirting with me, and I don't know what to do, and it's messing with my emotions, and I don't like it. I was resigned to the fact to suck for the rest of the year, and then they come and they win 5 in a row. And the offense woke up, and I was just ecstatic because we sucked when I was in Boston and we were playing the Blue Jays. The team has got life. They're getting healthy. We got Story back. He had a 3-run ding-dong yesterday. I about screamed and scared the ever-loving crap out of my kids here at the house when he did, because I had my AirPods in, so I couldn't hear actually how loud I was. But I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. I was like, here we go. Let's go. And I look at the standings at the end of the night. We're still 7.5 out of the second wild card, or third wild card. And it's really hard to continue to be excited about this team when we were so bad for so long. But to Jeremy's point, we're healthy now, or getting healthy, even though we just lost Franchi here just a few minutes ago. I think this team is going to be exciting down the stretch. I don't think we're going to make the playoffs. Statistically, it's going to be really hard for them to do it. As we just said, we won 5 in a row. We gained, I think, no ground whatsoever. The Mariners have won 5 or 6 in a row, and it's really hard to make an argument that we're going to make it. It's exciting to see Casas. Mr. Brown and I were going back and forth yesterday via text message. I thought he was going to hit a 700-foot home run in his first game. And that first at bat, I thought he was. I thought he got it. I was screaming at the top of my lungs here at Fenway South down here in Texas. And it hit a 375-foot flyout only at Fenway. Would that been it'd have been a top decker at the Little League ballpark in New York. But it's just frustrating, and I think you guys can share my frustration and share my excitement. But the flip side of that coin is we don't know what 2023 is going to look like because we have so many guys coming off the books and a lot of money to spend. I think we only have $90 million committed next year. Rafael Devers last year, so it's going to be really exciting to see, and I'm interested to see what you guys have to say about it.
Yeah, I think the arbitration adjustments are going to take it around like 105 to 110 million. But that means there's still over 100 million to spend before you even hit the luxury tax. And if they don't care about the luxury tax, they can spend even more than that, which, I mean, I don't know who you're spending that money on because some of the guys. There's only so many good top tier free agents this year. I feel like there's the top group that's there. It's a good top group, but last year's class makes it look like just not that great. But last year's class was ridiculous. But we're seeing this excitement, and I'm wearing a D-backs hat. If you're watching a video, if you're not listening, you can't see it, but I'm wearing a D-backs hat. D-backs up in my second team, and they've won 8 out of their last 10, and they've only gained like 2 games in the National League wildcard race. I know there's still like 9 games out or whatever. It's a totally different thing, but it's like at this point in the season, you need to be close and go on a hot streak. You can't be as far back as the Red Sox are. And a hot streak's not necessarily going to really help, especially when the other teams trying to get into the postseason, they're making their pushes as well. I do want to ask Mr. Brown, how are you feeling? Getting Casas called up. Bayo's looking good. Zach Kelly looked good out of the bullpen. And there's still some guys in Worcester that, maybe not could be called up. We'll see. But the young core is looking very exciting for the future.
Yeah, an overused phrase, cautiously or optimistic. I've always been a pessimistic with the Red Sox. Like Mr. Taylor said, they get your hopes up. And that was the old Red Sox. That was the Red Sox myself and Mr. Taylor grew up with until 2003, I would even say. 2004, yes, when they won. But when they started these championship runs over the last 20 years, I don't feel like the dread there used to be with the Red Sox. They're having fun out there. You said excitement. Do I think they're going to go into the playoffs? Not realistically. Just too many teams to hop over. Like you said, Baltimore is playing fantastic ball. They've got the youth movement that they have going, just like the Red Sox, which the Red Sox, in my mind, it irritates the living you-know-what out of me, is that they didn't bring up some of these guys early enough, like Wong and Casas, that could have put a bolt of energy into this team, which it feels like that's what we're seeing. And Bogarts out of nowhere is just hitting the cover off the ball. He looks fantastic. He looks like a guy who's going to be, I don't know, $25-30 million player come free agency. But I'm cautiously optimistic about this team just because of the future. I loved watching Casas in the first base. We've watched some dreadful fielding at first base all season long. And he made 3 plays yesterday that he made look casual, but to the average fan. But if you ask any average first baseman, those were tough plays to make. So I'm optimistic about like I said, the future of this team. We've got great stars up and coming. Don't forget, if we do lose Xander, Marcelo is getting ahead. I'm getting ahead of myself. Marcelo is waiting in the wings, but we had a great week. We're on a 4-game winning streak. We're down in Tampa. We've played Tampa fairly good. They don't put up that many runs, but what it comes down to is pitching, especially come in the fall. And this team does not have that. We have Waka, we have Bello, Winkowski, he's up and down. Beyond that, it's kind of up in the air where you're getting your pitching from and your innings, because the bullpen's overused, as we've seen throughout the year. They just been getting beat up, and we've taken shots at some of these guys that are no longer with them, so we won't bring up, Bad News Barnes's name or anybody like that. But they have potential. I love where they're going as a Red Sox fan, and there is hope. Do I still think Heim should go and Cora should go? Yes, that's my opinion.
I feel like
I don't think so. But to your point that I wanted to address here is, I think that's what we need to look forward to in September. Is there anything in September that tells us, okay, next year we're not going to be doing this? Next year will be, I don't want to say like the Yankees of the first half of the year, because that was just, they were on pace for record games, but to be as dominant as they were. And, as bad as Core's been, he's not Aaron Boone. So, if they were to start off red hot, similar to like they did in 2018, where they were just, steamrolling, that's what I want to see again. And whatever happens in September, I hope can tell that.
And let me add one more thing that frustrates the bejesus out of me is that we began the year with no closer, no defined closer in the bullpen. And we're probably going to end the year with no defined closer in the bullpen.
No, our defined closer is
team-
injured.
What's that?
Our closer is injured.
But so who was our closer?
Tanner Houck.
So it was Houck at one point. It was also help me out here.
They like
Whitlock.
rotating.
It was Whitlock at one
It was
point.
Whitlock. It was Strom. It was
Right.
Shriver. It was maybe Barnes. Hopefully,
And that's what I'm getting at.
They were
And I'll
hoping
throw
on
it back to
Barnes,
you,
but-
Stats, is that Core never came out and said, "This is my closer."
because they didn't have anyone who was good enough for it. Though that's the problem.
Yeah.
Or could live up to the moment. I think that was the problem. I feel like Shriver at best is a setup guy, especially over like the course of a season. He's a setup guy. Whitlock, I think, is perfect for that kind of 2 inning role if you need him for 2, but you prefer 1 and use him more often. I think Houck's got that closer mentality. I think if the team's healthy heading into next year, I kind of want to keep Whitlock and Houck in the bullpen and go, have a back 3 of Shriver, Whitlock, and Houck, and who knows, maybe you add on to that with arms from outside. I know Edwin Diaz is a free agent. Do you want to splash the cash there? That gets interesting. Now you want to have like a massive back 4 at the end of the bullpen, kind of do some kind of Royals stuff from that 2015 team did. That team's one of my favorite teams just because like they're the only team to not rely on the home run ball to win a World Series recently. But I think we're in the midst of Chaim Bloom's 5-year plan, and like go to Theo Epstein when he went to the Cubs. Hey, it's gonna take time. It's gonna take 5 years. Chaim Bloom didn't say that in public, but at the end of the day, he's trying to build sustained success, and that takes time to build. I think we truly are in his 5-year plan. I think his plan is to, try and put the MLB team in position to win, give them the talent. They still, I think, had the talent to play well this year, to win games this year. Things just didn't go right. Some players underperformed. Some players got injured. A whole bunch of crazy stuff happened this year. Last year they played well. We know to what 2020 was. It was, just get us out of the year and let's move on from it. So I think they're in this point where it's like, okay, here's the make or break of that 5-year plan this offseason. It's gonna define, where the team's going. There's a bunch of different ways they can go. Obviously, I think re-signing Devers should be in, every single option that they have. And realistically, it is. They can re-sign Devers regardless. But, do you bring Bogarts back? I think Evaldi maybe leaves. What about Kike? That's interesting. Do you trust your in-house options in center? Do you want to go outside? Do you bring him back on a short-term deal in hopes that Rafaela can eventually take over? Do you go for a stopgap or a prove-it guy in the outfield? Your infield's going to be set if you bring back Bogarts. If not, do you get a stopgap at short to wait for, Marcelo Meyer? Do you bring in another free agency shortstop maybe? What's the catcher position looking like? What's the bullpen and rotation going to look like? Especially the rotation, take out Evaldi, maybe even Waka. Rich Hill's gone. There's going to be some open spots in that rotation, especially if they don't move Whitlock or Houck back to the rotation. That's another 2 big pieces. There's going to be a lot of moving parts this offseason. And I think it's really going to be that make or break for Chaim Bloom of, okay, we're off to the races, we're in this direction, and we're riding with it. Whether it's we're going to wait on the young talent and wait to spend money until when our young talent starts to prove themselves, or we're going to start spending now and be ready for our young talent to add on to what we have. There isn't really a right or wrong way. It just, the results can come either way. But it is very interesting to see what direction they're going to go with this.
Well, I think the offseason that's coming up, if it resembles anything like last offseason, then I think we have major problems. helps, because that was the talk coming into this year. Okay, there wasn't a whole lot because of money, and last year's team was overachieved, and that it was ahead of plan. So this year kind of went the way it did, but this offseason there should be some changes. We do need to fill those gaps. Like last season, we knew bullpen was an issue, and really not much was done. And look at what's really snake bitten us this year. It started off good in the beginning, but then it just fell apart because they relied on so much.
I will play devil's advocate on the bullpen though, just because it's like, at the end of the day, do you want to take the risk on your guys that you have there, or do you want to pay someone probably more than they should get just to try and hope and pray
the
in your
bullpen's
bullpen?
starting to take shape. Zach Kelly's looked good. Chanahawk is going to get back in that bullpen. Whitlock, they did wrap up. So I think the bullpen is going to be okay. They can fill the arms for minor league.
Schreiber, Frank Herman.
Right. I'm worried more about the outfield. We used to have excellent outfields. Over the last 10, 20 years, we've had one of the best outfields, from year to year. That's not the case now. I mean, you worry almost when a ball gets hit out into the outfield, what's going to happen? There's not much speed out there. Verdugo is a baller, but he's not that great of an outfielder.
He's not fast. He doesn't run.
Every time they put him in left field, it's just a mystery of what's going to happen. And they have to learn. I've never seen a team not do well with the basics. I'm talking about base running. They were historically bad with base running this year and just blunders on the base paths. That's coaching, and that's why I say, what's Core doing in that dugout? What's he doing with his team that he can't even get them on the same page with the basics of base running?
I feel like that falls back, though. They have specific coaches for that. I feel like that falls back more on them. And the players, too, because, you're an MLB player. If you don't know how to run the bases, you need to be taught to run the bases.
But Mr. Taylor will agree with me on this.
Well, no, here, hold on. It's the same
It always ends with the general, and the general is Mr. Core. So, yeah, he has coaches underneath him in charge of it, but the buck stops with him when you have these errors in and out. What do you think, Mr. Taylor?
I think they're just bad at fundamentals for the most part this year. Their defense has been suspect at times. Their base running has been comical. The outfield is, as you said very succinctly, is kind of up in the air. I think right now with who we have, with Kike in center, Pham in left, and Verdugo on right, I think that's the best three that we've had all year. I like Tommy Pham in left. I really like Kike in center. I'm concerned about Verdugo and right long term because that's another center fielder type position with any other team because of how big it is.
He doesn't run well though either.
He reminds me of running like JD's in the outfield again or something. It's just, I mean, the kid takes good routes, but he's kind of like Fleetwood, man. He's not very fast. Yeah. So it's concerning. I'd rather have him back in left field again because it's shorter. He does play the monster well from time to time, but they need some consistency. They've had, I've lost count the number of lineup changes that I've seen throughout the course of the year because of injuries. I'd really be interested to see how well this team plays once they have some consistency with the lineup going into the next year. But the caveat to that is very simple: is don't know who's going to be in the lineup next year.
Well, you've seen it over the last 5 games.
100%. What was it? You and I were going back and forth. We had Bobby Dahlbeck at shortstop, and you came back with Frankenstein's playing shortstop. Everything is fine.
Yeah, no, that's ridiculous.
I almost fell out of my chair when I saw that. I'm like, oh my God. And you nailed it on the head with everything is fine. No, it's not, dude. I'm sorry. When you got Bobby Dahlbeck at shortstop, I'm like, holy shit.
Hey, well, he played half decently. He played half decently, to be fair to him.
The ball found him that first half inning, man, which was hilarious. I think he had 2 putouts that first inning. But it's 2022 Sox, man. It's been so up and down. It's like the worst relationship I've ever had in my life. And I've been married 3 times and engaged 5 times. So it's horrible, man.
Did you work at NCIS or something? I'm going to start calling you Gibbs.
No, unfortunately, I just got unlucky way too many times and found too many beautiful women that love me for whatever reason. Maybe it's my stellar personality or my gorgeous looks.
All right.
We'll save that for another episode. Back to stats. Where are we at?
Yeah.
Get us
Yeah,
back in line.
I think though with this year's team that things didn't necessarily the cookie didn't crumble their way. Kind of like the roll of the dice didn't really work. Injuries played a part in it. Injuries were rough. I think at this point they're in there. Okay, well we're probably not making the playoffs. Now we feel comfortable calling up Cassis and getting him every day at bats. We're comfortable calling up Wong and getting a decent look at him. I think next year our catcher situation is going to be Reese McGuire and Connor Wong, unless they go out and bring in Mike Zunino. That's my only caveat to that. And I know you guys have been hearing me say Mike Zunino for like 2 months now. If they get a free agent catcher, it's going to be him. I've been calling that for like 2 months now. If they go into free agency to get a catcher, it will be him. It's not going to be Vasquez. It's not going to be whoever the heck's out there. It's going to be Mike Zunino. Which I know Mr. Taylor loves Vasquez wants back, but it's the truth. I mean, to be fair, it is the truth. But I think the most likely though is going to be Reese McGuire and Connor Wong. Though I think that's most likely.
Is Connor Wong the smallest catcher you've ever seen in your life? He without the beard, he looks like Pedroia.
Hey, if it
or with
works,
the beard, he
it
looks
works.
like Pedroia.
If it works, it works. I'm not gonna complain about his size because if it works, it works. First base, I think next year that's Cassis is locked in, right? Second base, Story's locked in. Third, Devers locked in. Verdugo's locked in one of the corner spots in the outfield. Then Fam's a question mark, his mutual option. Even though I kind of have a weird feeling that that'll be accepted by both sides, which is rare, but I think it will be because I think Fam knows he's not going to get much more in the open market, and the Red Sox know it's still solid value, and they have the money to spend, so it's not like $7.5 million. It's not going to kill them. So if you get Fam and Verdugo in your corners,
Jack Bradley Jr., so I'm not worried about that. So yeah, I could see them picking up that option and being okay with it.
Hey, Jackie's defense would have looked real good in that 28-5 game in center field. I'm not gonna lie, and we all know that. I like Duran, but at the end of the day, like his defense needs to improve massively. Maybe they give him another run out in 2023. My wild long shot answer has been Cody Bellinger for center field. The Dodgers could be a non-tender candidate from the Dodgers. They do non-tender him. Hey, here's a 1-year prove-it deal. You and Verdugo were already teammates in LA. Bring it to Boston. Might as well. Let's roll with it. You're not going to have any pressure on you because the whole fan base thinks we're going to either just take a crap and play awful, or the young players will play well.
If Bellinger becomes available, there will be a team like the Rangers or somebody will come in with a stupid contract for him because they're going to look. It's Cody Bellinger. Like I don't see him doing a 1-year prove-it deal because there's a team out there dumb enough to sign him to a 4-year deal or something.
No, there's not. No, there's no team that dumb.
Yeah,
there's
I can see Seager campaigning for him to go to Texas.
Oh no!
Right.
Well, here's the thing though. Dodgers are thinking we went DFA him. The Red Sox go, no, don't DFA him. Or don't non-tender him. We'll trade for him. Here's this bag of chips. It's better than nothing. You're not going to get anything if you get rid of him. Here's something. Okay, cool. Now you have the negotiating rights to Cody Bellinger. Yes, you got to take him to arbitration. Yes, it's going to be like $17 million for 1 year. Guess what? There's your prove-it deal. Is it a lot? Yes, but the Red Sox have the money to spend. So it's not that big of a deal in my opinion.
I don't know if that fits in with Chaim Bloom though, because 17 mil for 1 year. Yeah, they have the money to spend, but that just seems like for him that goes totally against what he do.
Hold on. Jackie Bradley was 12 million. Hold on, Jackie Bradley was 12 million with an 8 million buyout. That's 20 million.
All right, true. You got me there. Yep.
I say Kike's coming back on a 1-year, $7 million deal. Bellinger's not going to step foot at Fenway Park.
Kike's not going to go for way more. Kike's going for way more than that.
He can't after the year that he had because of injuries.
Mm-hmm. Versatility. Teams love versatility.
He's got that.
It's going to be at least a 2-year deal for Kike, and I'm thinking it's going to be at least $10 million a year. At least.
I don't have a problem with that. I don't have 2 for 20.
I don't have
2
a
for 20
problem.
with PK.
I
Yeah,
mean,
like you said, we're paying $12 million for JBJ.
I kind of like a 1 year deal option more right now for this year, for next year. I'm in that kind of, I like the 1 year deal more, just because I know we have Rafaela coming up, and even if his bat doesn't fully develop in what now we're kind of hoping it turns out to be, because he's been stellar this year in the minors, his defense is like top tier. It's already MLB. His defense is already elite and borderline elite on an MLB level, in my opinion. So he's already in AA. 2024 seems like a good time for him to push for the opening day roster. If next year goes well for him, he can maybe even be kind of a late season call up if they need some outfield help or even infield help. He can play pretty much anywhere.
But we got a few more months to talk about free agency. We still got the rest of the season to go through. And does anybody else get an ill feeling in their stomach that every game that we beat with Tampa Bay, which I hope they take at least a couple games down in Tampa, we're helping out the Yankees?
Yeah.
Does that not make anybody else sick?
Well, the Yankees are shooting in the foot anyways. So
they just beat Minnesota.
Right. So,
that's like having a bye.
Let's start winning against the AL East for the rest of the year, because then we know going into next year, we actually can beat the AL East, because before August, we can say we're not beating any of the teams in AL East. So that's what I say. And the Yankees, they'll shoot themselves in the foot. Look at how they're going. My prediction for them is they might still eke out the division, but they're not in any, I'll put it this way. They're not a threat to make it a really deep run unless their pitching improves. But Boone is just mishandling everything.
And he gets ejected once every other week for arguing balls and strikes.
Right.
We know that's a fact. Before we wrap this thing up, though, we're going to head on to our favorite segment of the show, Stats and Chats. Let's get straight into it. Last week, we talked about expected home runs and how Alex Verdugo has been a little unlucky at the plate. He's hitting his expected home runs are much higher than his actual home runs, and he's hit a couple home runs since we did that. So, hey, the luck's turning for him. However, we're going to cover the pitching side of it, and this one does not show a Red Sox player in great light. So it's still the same actual home runs to expected home runs. Actual home run. We'll just go for a very quick example. One hit a home run. That's a home run in 15 out of 30 MLB ballparks. It's one actual home run. 0.5 expected home runs. That's how it works. If you need it, just look up Would You Dong on Twitter. But we're going to focus on the pitching side of it. The pitcher with the worst differential from actual home runs to expected home runs is Nick Pivetta. He's given up 20 actual home runs. His expected home runs he's given up is 26.6. It's a 6.6 difference. He has been getting lucky. 1 and 2, he probably deserves to have given up more home runs. That basically tells me he's been giving up a lot of long fly balls and a lot of good contact that maybe the hitter just missed, or maybe, just wrong. The hitter was at the wrong ballpark. Hit one out to the triangle in Fenway, 420 feet, and it was caught.
Well, that's the thing about Pivetta, right? He keeps the ball down, so they're not getting the launch angle that he's gotten the ball down a lot better this year than he had in years past. So I think that might play into it too. So they're not getting the launch angle to where that stat is where we thought it would be. Does that make any sense?
He has a lot of mislocation, like over the middle of the plate. I think that's the problem with him at times, especially or he'll just try and just throw the curveball in for a strike, and it'll be right down the middle, and it's like, one of these days someone's gonna clobber it 500 feet, and it's gonna happen. Or
I think that's been the issue with Pivetta, because Stats, you and I were talking about this, weeks ago, of what was going on with Pivetta, and as we both kind of dug into it and stuff,
and velocities.
Yeah, and Evaldi too, right? Velocity is relatively the same. The fastball is, how much he throws it was relatively the same. And that what it came down to is he was just missing high. And I think that's what's playing a part of it with Pivetta. He's missing his spot and missing high, which again, I bring up, is that a fundamental thing? If you keep missing spots, don't you think some pitching coach would try to work with him on it, but we could debate that another time. But I wonder if it's this, like, where is Evaldi on this?
Well, some of the other Red Sox that have struggled. Cutter Crawford's given up 12 home runs. His expected home runs is 14.4. Josh Winkowski has given up 12.3 home runs. His expected is Winkowski giving up 10 home runs. His expected is 12.3. Ryan Brazier's given up 8 home runs. His expected is 10.2. Not great at all. Sawamura, he's given up 4 home runs. His expected is 5.8. Schreiber's given up 2, expected home runs 3.7. It feels like Fenway, the pitchers are getting a little lucky, it seems like, at Fenway, because you get a lot of long fly balls to right field that would be home runs elsewhere, but they're fly ball outs at Fenway because you get the triangle that's 420, deep right field, trying to hit it out towards the bullpens. And I think that's kind of what's shown with Verdugo, and that it's just you're driving it out towards deep right, you're just not getting enough of it, and I think that's where the problem comes in.
I would have expected Brazier to have given up more home runs, to be honest with you, based upon the stats that you gave us. Seems like every time he comes in, he gives up the bomb to someone.
Yeah, Samora too.
Yeah, for you, what did you say? Sawamura had only given up 3, and it was expected it was like 4 point something.
Yeah,
I think that's lying right there, dude. I think that guy gave up like 20. I mean, seriously.
I know we're wrapping up on time, but I have an historic stat for stats. On this day in history, Babe Ruth shut out Game 1 of the 1918 World Series. There's your historical stat of the day.
Not
from
bad.
Downtown Brown.
Not bad. All right, Nathan Evaldi has given up 21 home runs this year. His expected home runs is 20.6, so not much of a difference. But I think at the end of the day, though, like, Evaldi gave up 21 home runs this year. Last year, the whole year, he gave up 15, and he was healthy the whole year. I think that, and this year he hasn't been healthy the whole year, and he's been injured, missed significant amount of time, and he's given up 6 more home runs than he did last year. Pavetta's given up more home runs this year, I'm pretty sure. And
I know we're getting close on time. I wanted up with one thing from my end. The word of the day is earthing. Look it up. Cassis, that's his pregame ritual, earthing. It's a good read. Read on it.
Yeah, it was to see him warming up, with no
half
shirt, yeah, just like this guy is going to be a riot.
I love him already. He looks like Papelbon. Well, bigger, but
Papelbon.
Anything on Earthing Day?
Real quick with Papelbon, you just brought that up. The other day he pitched for the Savannah Bananas.
Yep,
had the World Series. So if Cassis wants to be like him, I'm all for it.
100%.
I'm in 100%.
All right, well, we're gonna leave it off there. Thanks for tuning into Off the Monstah. This is our second episode. We're gonna be pumping them out. We're very excited for this. For Jeremy, Mr. Taylor, and Mr. Brown, I'm Derek. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.